Welcome everybody to our newest video, which is about food that's banned in the US. It's a video from Weird History Food. Be sure to check out that channel. They got really interesting topics, also non-mainstream approaches to food history or food in general as a cultural phenomena. And I think we go right in.
To state the obvious, Americans love food. And in the US, you can buy anything imaginable at restaurants, farms, markets, and other stores. Well, almost anything. The US Food and Drug Administration has banned many foods from being sold or eaten in the United States for various reasons. So, today, we're going to take a look at some foreign foods that are not allowed in the USA. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History Food channel. After that, please leave a comment and let us know what other funky food topics you would like to hear about. Now, let's take an illicit trip on the wild side of food. Scotland is known for a number of wonderful things.
So I know the first one. It's like made from a sheep's stomach, so to say. Yeah. That's common to eat if you visit. I think it's Irish. If you visit Ireland, this is a common thing to eat. Like we don't have this in Germany, but if you visit Ireland, it's a must thing to do for tourists. And some people actually like it. Yeah, but I wouldn't have thought that it was banned in the U.S.
Like Scotch whiskey, bagpipes, and Sean Connery. But it's also known for eating haggis.
Haggis? What is haggis?
Haggis, for those who don't know, is a type of pudding composed of the liver, heart, and lungs of a sheep, mixed with beef and oatmeal, then seasoned with onions, cayenne peppers, and other spices. This mixture is then packed into a sheep's stomach and boiled.
How revolting!
This might not sound appetizing to everyone, but Scottish people are really into it. In fact, haggis is the national dish of Scotland. And if you get it there, it's usually accompanied by turnips and mashed potatoes. Americans who like haggis, however, are out of luck because haggis is currently banned from being imported into the United States. The U.S. banned all foods that are made from animal lungs in 1971. Since then, Scotland has made several efforts to influence the U.S. into lifting the ban on haggis and changing.
Like they have lobbyists. Imagine there's like lobbying. They're trying to influence the US government to allow the imports of haggis again. Yeah. It's probably a huge market.
Federal food safety regulations, but they've come up short each time. Too bad Sean Connery isn't around to ask.
But I would totally try that.
Sometimes the US bans foods for health concerns about the dish itself. But there are other reasons John Q. Law might stop you from enjoying a particular meal. For example, to protect an endangered species. Such is the case with Beluga Caviar. Caviar is, of course, fish eggs. Beluga Caviar comes from the beluga sturgeon, which is the largest of the sturgeons, weighing more than 2,000 pounds and measuring more than 15 feet long. It can take up to 25 years for the female beluga to mature and produce eggs. Beluga Caviar varies in color from light to dark gray and is the largest grain caviar. Their pearls are the most delicate and have a mild, buttery flavor. In 2005, however, the United States banned beluga caviar from further import due to overfishing. The U.S. was consuming about 60% of the world's beluga caviar, which is considered the Rolls-Royce of caviar.
But I think it's super cool from the US to like really ban it. Like because obviously if they were consuming 60% of it, like they were doing most of the damage, but that they actually banned it, like a luxury product like this. I mean, yeah, lots of respect here for the US for doing that.
Due to costing $200 per ounce. In fact, beluga caviar was so desirable that the available stock declined by 90%. Overfishing
You can still buy that in
mostly
Germany.
be traced back to poaching in the black market, but that's just academic now. The bottom line is, no beluga caviar for Americans anymore. So as we've seen, the U.S. might ban a food for being unsafe, or because it derives from a species at risk. But there's yet another reason a food might be banned: trading concerns. Take the Mirabelle plum. which is the small, oval-shaped and dark yellow fruit grown on the Mirabelle plum tree. It's sweet and full of flavor, and is used in fruit preserves and dessert pies. The fruit can mostly be found in France, where 70% of the world's Mirabelle production occurs. The production of the Mirabelle plum has been supported since 1996 by a protected geographical indication to help.
They are super tasty. In France, like on the countryside, I live close to the French border, and I've been to France a couple of times because it's not such a big deal. And they even like grow in the on the fields in the forest, and you can just eat them, and they're super tasty. And they make like jelly out of it, which is also amazing. Yeah, really good.
Guarantee its authenticity. The protected origin designation makes it illegal to import or commercially sell the plums in the U.S. That being said, regular folks can grow them on their own property, as long as
okay.
you don't try to sell them.
Yeah. So you grow your own, you have something fancy. So if I was American, like import like a small tree, put it in your garden, and then you're the only person who has that fruit. Super exclusive garden tree.
Unpasteurized milk, or raw milk, is milk that comes directly from an animal's udder and hasn't been heat treated or pasteurized to kill any bacteria. Sounds great, right?
Oh, indeed it does.
Well, it may not be. Raw milk carries a higher risk of being
Tastes
contaminated
great,
with
though.
harmful bacteria that causes foodborne illnesses than pasteurized milk does. Children, in particular, are at a higher risk for the.
You can buy raw milk in organic supermarkets in the European Union. I've had raw milk actually. Alnatura, that's a organic food chain comparable to Whole Foods. They sell raw milk, and yeah, some normal supermarkets also do. Yeah, it has a very short due date. I think only one day, and it's more expensive, but it tastes great.
These diseases because their immune systems have not yet fully developed. The FDA banned the interstate sale or distribution of raw milk in the U.S., but states are able to adopt their own laws of the sale of raw milk. Given the risk, you might think that states would want to stop people from drinking the stuff, but not so much. In fact, drinking and consuming unpasteurized milk is 100% legal in all 50 states. That being said, only 13 states allow the sale of raw milk in retail stores. Of the other 37, 20 states prohibit the sale of raw milk, and 17 states allow the sale of raw milk on the farm in which it was produced. And at the very least, many of the states that allow the selling of raw milk require a warning label informing consumers about the risk of pathogens that can be found in the milk. There is currently something of a movement in the United States to consume organic and locally grown foods. Some believe that raw milk is more nutritious and provides good bacteria for the body.
Probably.
Sassafras oil is extracted from the dried root bark of the sassafras tree. The tree, in case you want to go looking for one, stands anywhere from 20 to 40 feet tall, with slender branches and orange and brown colored bark. The leaves are oval and can grow to 3 to 7 inches long, and the flowers are small and of a greenish or yellow color. Historically speaking, sassafras has played a big role in various cultures around the world. For example, many Native American tribes use it for various medicinal purposes, including to help with acne, urinary disorders, and fevers. It can also be found in Chinese medications to help treat rheumatism and trauma. The twigs from the plant were once used as toothbrushes, and sassafras was also used as an early anesthetic and disinfectant. Not only that, but sassafras was found in many distinct foods in the U.S., and it was known as a key ingredient in many root beers and teas. Sounds pretty useful, right? Well, don't start celebrating just yet. The FDA prohibits all sassafras bark, oil, and saffrole as flavorings or food additives. Sassafras is no longer considered safe for human consumption. It was actually banned all the way back in 1979 after research linked it to cancer. Also, when too much sassafras oil is consumed, poisoning can possibly occur.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
The ortolan is a small, colorful bird in the
Have
bunting
you heard
family,
of that?
a category that also includes.
That's really sick. Like in France, they eat this bird in a way that they drown it in like cognac, and then they like pan fried, and they eat it as a whole, like the whole bird with bones and everything, and they do it under a blanket, and then they like eat the whole birds and then put the bones out of their mouth, like super decadent French dish, which is illegal now, like in the European Union as well. And this bird, the ortolan, European singing bird, is also highly endangered.
American tree sparrows. Once upon a time, in a faraway land called France, the ortolan was a chief ingredient in a highly controversial meal. The recipe called for the bird to be cooked for 8 minutes and served with a head
You
attached.
can.
The bird was then meant to be
I think
eaten
they
whole, including the head
they're
and
showing
bones.
this in Hannibal
Due to its
Lecter,
rarity, the killing
TV
and
show.
selling of the ortolan was banned in France in the
think so.
1990s. But that didn't stop poachers who continued to catch the small bunting and sell it to local restaurants. In fact, the law was so inconsequential that France's League for the Protection of Birds claimed that the ortolan population dropped 30% even after the ban was enacted. This forced the government to enact more stringent enforcement in 2007. But the killing of the rare bird is less controversial than the barbaric way in which it is killed. It starts with the birds being trapped during their migratory season and kept in covered cages. Since the ortolan eats more at night, covering the cages cruelly tricks them into gorging on grain, even to the point where their bodies double in size. This is a less gruesome variation on an alleged ancient practice in which the bird's eyes would be plucked out, fooling them into thinking it was night so that they would eat more. Either way, once the ortolans are fattened up, they're thrown, still alive mind you, into a vat of Armagnac, which both drowns and marinates them. France now strictly enforces the ban on killing ortolans. In fact, the killing, cooking, or smuggling of the bird anywhere in the European Union or the United States is currently a crime.
No,
Kazu
that's the
marzu,
cheese with the
translated in
meadows
English,
inside.
means rotten
I
cheese.
think,
And if
yeah.
that doesn't sound horrible enough to you already, then allow us to point out that it's also known as maggot cheese.
I think this is in
Now
Sardinia,
you're probably
right?
thinking something like,
In-
okay, it
in-
has a
in
disgusting name, but it's
South
just a
Italy?
name, right? Well, this Sardinian cheese is typically soaked in brine, smoked, and then left to ripen in a cheese cellar. So far, so good.
But I want to
Then
see some
cheesemakers set it
some
outside,
unknown
uncovered,
banned foods,
allowing
because
cheesing
these
flies to
examples,
lay
I
eggs
mean,
inside it.
for
The
for
eggs hatch
somebody
into
who
maggots, which
watches
start feeding on the
these kind of
cheese.
videos
The
from time
maggots
to
produce
time,
enzymes that promote
most of
fermentation
those
and cause
examples
fats
are
within the
already
cheese to
well known.
decompose. The cheese becomes super soft and leaves a burn on the tongue when eaten. Local Sardinians say the cheese is only good when the maggots are still moving. If the maggots are dead, then the cheese has gone bad and is too toxic for consumption. Kazu marzu is not in compliance with European Union hygienic standards. Movies like 1975's Jaws make it seem like humans have a lot to fear from sharks. But in reality, the reverse is far more true. In fact, finning, the act of cutting off a shark's fin,
I'm not even kidding. When I was like 3 or 4 years old, my dad used to buy like shark fins in the glass, like stewed shark fins in the supermarket. They sold it like in Lidl or Aldi or something. He really bought, you could buy those like 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Nowadays, of course, illegal.
is one of the greatest threats that sharks face. It's so dangerous because after a shark is finned, it's thrown back in the sea where it may drown, bleed to death, or be eaten by other animals. Unfortunately, for those who want to protect the sharks, there is still a large market for shark fins to make shark fin soup, which is a popular and luxurious Asian dish. Shark fins are very popular in Asia and can be found in food stores, pharmacies, and fishing
But they
villages.
ate those in
the demand
Europe
for
too.
shark fins has led to sharks being
A-
targeted
a
solely
long
for their
time ago.
fins.
Well,
But
long
don't expect
time,
to try
I mean.
that soup in the U.S. anytime soon. The practice of finning
My dad.
is illegal in the United States. Ackee appears to be a very delightful and delicious fruit, but appearances can be deceiving. For if the ackee is improperly eaten, it can cause vomiting or even lead to a coma or death. To do it right, you need to know that the ackee's fruit's protective pod turns red and naturally opens, revealing the edible portion, which is the many yellow aril that surround the toxic black seeds. The ackee fruit is originally native to West Africa, but was brought to Jamaica in 1778. In Jamaica, the harmful effects of ackee fruit are known as Jamaican vomiting sickness, and they're comfortable enough with it to have made it Jamaica's national fruit. The fruit can be tried in Jamaica paired with codfish, which is a popular dish. In the
Oh.
US, however, the
I would
FDA
love to
banned
try
all
that.
ackee, though they later allowed the sale of frozen or canned ackee. The import of fresh ackee is still banned.
Yeah.
The Kinder Surprise Egg is a
We
hollow
all knew
chocolate egg
about
that
this
holds a
one, didn't
plastic
we?
capsule that contains a toy. The toy is usually a simple collectible, like a tiny bike or miniature beach bucket and pail. They are widely popular.
I think
and are
this is
sold
just
across
a
the
piece
world,
of childhood
except
for
in the United
most
States.
most
Not
European
that it's hurting
kids.
them any. In fact,
I loved
even
them when I
without the
was a
help from
child.
U.S. markets, Kinder sells more than 3.5 billion surprise eggs each year. Kinder Surprise Eggs have always been illegal in the United States. The 1938 regulation made it illegal to sell any candy that contains a non-nutritive object. Several efforts have been made to import the chocolate egg into the U.S., but the federal government has continued its ban and recalled the item each time. Luckily for U.S. consumers, Kinder also makes the Joy Egg, which is a more recent version that separates the toy from the chocolate in two sealed
Also
packs.
very good,
The
but
Joy
not the
Egg
same.
meets FDA regulations and is compliant with the Consumer Product Safety Commission. It's not exactly the same as the Kinder Surprise, but
No.
it's close enough so the fans across the U.S. can get their fix. So
Ah.
what do you think? What banned food sounds good to you? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.
Well, I think claiming that a Kinder Joy is pretty much like a Kinder Surprise Egg, that's a pretty weird claim, and I wouldn't agree with that. But besides that, great video, interesting video, and thanks for joining me today. See you next time.